Welcome to our house. This is the Screenplay Podcast. I'm your host, Evan Grenis, and with me as always is PGA Tour player Andrew Novak.
How's it going, everybody? Happy to be back for another week and talk a little bit of football.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Screenplay_podcasts. New episodes dropping every Wednesday. So I think we're both in our own house this week filming.
This might be the first time since week one, literally.
I know we've
First
been
week
all
of
over the place. When I looked at the slate of games this week, I mean, I wasn't expecting a lot. There weren't a whole lot of great matchups. Nothing that really like stuck out to me was like I gotta watch this game like crazy. But
Hmm.
I mean, it turned out to be a hell of a week. Some crazy good games. Got 6 games that ended in a field goal as time expired, which is the most in NFL history, including that game on Monday night. Yeah, it was a good week for an NFL season with not premier matchups. So let's get into the Monday night game. Broncos beat the Bills 24-22. This was probably my favorite NFL game I've watched all year. I couldn't take my eyes off of it. Super exciting stuff. Penalties, turnovers, crazy things happening. Ken Dorsey was fired today
Yeah,
after the Bills lost. I
Hmm.
mean, there's just stuff happening all over the place. What did you see out on the field on Monday night?
yeah. It was a beautifully ugly football game.
Yeah,
Broncos really, tried to control possession. They ran the heck out of the ball. They had 37 minutes possession. Uh, they really just sat on the ball, and I'm sure that's exactly what they were trying to do. That was the game plan. And the Bills' run defense been a bit balky this year, and yeah, they weren't super efficient on the ground, but they did enough to keep the chains moving and kept it close. Buffalo kept turning it over like they've been doing all year long, and it came down to a field goal at the end. And although they missed it once, they got it the second time. So Broncos could not have asked for it to go any better for them. I mean, they kind of had to play it like that to win that game, I think. But yeah, I think this is a game where you've been saying it. I've been kind of pushing back against it, but yeah, I think this Bills window is officially shut. They're cooked. Sean McDermott scapegoated Ken Dorsey.
yep,
Uh,
exactly. Yeah.
Ken Dorsey is not a bad OC. The offense has been quite good. If you look at like the EPA numbers, the efficiency numbers, third downs, um, it has been like a good offense. But man, it's 5-5. There's a lot of good AFC teams. I think they're done. I mean, I know they have Joe Brady stepping in. Joe Brady's a good offensive coordinator. Um, I think it's over for the Bills, though.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't think
they're
it's
like you said, he definitely is using Ken Dorsey as a scapegoat here. I mean, something had to change because I think he feels that his job is on the line. But I mean, their turnovers are getting a bit ridiculous. Allen
awful.
has at least
Awful.
one pick in the last 6 games. They had 4 turnovers last night.
Yeah.
Um,
The
it's
Gabe
it
Davis one was not his fault. Like, I
No,
mean,
it
literally,
hit Gabe
hit him
Davis
in
right
his
in
hands.
the
But like,
hands. Yeah.
it's just turnover luck's been brutal, man. You cannot lose the turnover battle that badly and win football games. I don't care how good your quarterback is. I don't care how good your offense is or all of these things. You just don't win football games turning it over like that.
I do think though, I watched the game, I mean, and I feel like the Bills may have found something there in the second half. So when they
It's the run
scored,
game.
yeah, when they
Yeah.
scored with 2 minutes left and took the
Yep.
lead, they ran the ball every play. They did not throw
Yep.
one pass that drive. And I was like, oh, this looks like a good football team. Like what with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, like if Buffalo is like a run first team, they could be so good.
So
And I
yesterday they were 50-50 split, 26 passes, 26 runs.
and it looked a
But
lot. The
they
turnovers
they
just killed them.
backdoored that very much so. It was late. And the thing is, the Broncos are a known team. Like, you can run on that team. Teams have proved that all year. I just don't see why it takes that late in the game to kind of get to it. Usually, I would think, open that up early, and then maybe that opens up the play action.
Yeah,
Maybe that opens play action to Gabe Davis deep. Maybe RPO. The slant opens up for Diggs or something like. I don't know. I don't know why it took them so long to get to that.
Yeah, I mean, Cook looked good last night. I think if they
Mhm.
stick with that run the rest of the year, they might have some success. They look like they were doing well with it last night. Just
Oops.
you can't win a game with four turnovers and then a PI penalty at the end and 12 men on the field. I did want to say this though. I was thinking to myself, it's really funny. Like you're either in the field goal block unit or you're not.
Yeah,
So
I
like there was 12 men on the field,
okay.
obviously, and there's a flag, but like there's somebody on that Bills defense that's sitting there
Yeah.
and they're thinking in their head, oh, I'm not supposed to be out here right now. Like,
Like, and the thing to me, so this just it makes my head hurt because it makes my head hurt. The the coach in me was just losing it. Like, what were the Bills doing with their timeout? The Broncos need the ball with like 25 seconds left. And then the Bills called their last timeout with 23 seconds left. That is terrible. That means that the Broncos are allowed, they can go out, knee it on third down, and then run their kicking team out
yep.
and scramble drill plenty of time to kick the field goal to win the game on the last play.
And they already did it in the first
Any
half,
coach,
successfully
any
running
coach
their,
that knows what
yeah.
they're doing calls that timeout with exactly 13 seconds. 13 seconds is the number because if it's 13 seconds, the Broncos cannot run the knee play, get their kicker out, and comfortably kick that field goal. So they're forced to kick the field goal with 13 seconds left. Then you get a kickoff. At least, if they make it, you have 8 seconds. You can either do, you know, like fair catch the kickoff, try and hit like a 15-yard like out route or something, and then Hail Mary since Josh Allen can throw it forever. Or at least you get a lateral play attempt. I know it's not a high percentage, but like you're working with low percentages. That's the percentage play. Like, why are you calling a timeout with 23 seconds? Like, you have to let that clock run down to 13 seconds and call the timeout then.
Yeah. There was just so much stuff happening in this game. It was really
Yeah.
exciting to watch all the way to the end. Right now, ESPN analytics give the Bills a 33% chance of making the playoffs. And looking at their schedule, it's brutal coming in. They have the hardest schedule remaining. Just listen to this. They have Jets, Eagles, Chiefs, Cowboys, Chargers, Pats, Dolphins. I mean, it's very easy to see that they could lose 4, 5 of those games. They're gonna have to beat
I
some
think
really good teams coming in order to make the playoffs.
I think at best they can afford maybe one more loss at best. I think they got to go 6-1 coming in. I mean, I guess yeah, 10-7 can
I think
make the playoffs. Yeah,
I
two
th-
losses maybe
I
two.
yeah. So I mean, say they lose to the Eagles and the Chiefs. I mean, they still got to beat Cowboys, Chargers, Jets,
Dolphins
Pats, Dolphins. Like it's gonna be tough.
taking the Pats in there. I see you.
I mean, the Pats play them twice a year. Like I don't care how bad they are. It's an in division game. Every in division game is tough. All right, we spent enough time on that. That was a crazy game. Let's get to Sunday night. Raiders beat the Jets 16-12. It was not a pretty game, but I thought it was a fun watch. Zach Wilson didn't play terrible, but also didn't like do a whole lot. He went 23 for 39, 263 yards and a pick. This stat is crazy. The Jets have 36 consecutive drives without a touchdown. 36. The last 21 quarters of football, they have one touchdown. That's it's laughable. It really is. With a defense as good as they have, their offense is absolutely trash. All the Raiders try to do this game was stop Brees Hall because they know that there's nothing that the Jets can do other than give it to him, really.
Yeah, I made the executive decision to not watch this game and save those hours of my life and did not regret it. It was a close game, but man, like these offenses are just terrible. Um, Vegas, I mean, they're breaking in a rookie quarterback and they're breaking in a new coach, and it's cool to see them get, 2 wins. They were definitely against lesser opponents, but it's cool to see them doing that. But I think the honeymoon phase is pretty much coming to an end. I don't think either of these teams are playoff teams. Neither of them are very functional offensively. Jets do have a good defense, but it's It's pretty ugly football. It's a pretty ugly box score.
Yeah, I mean the Raiders are 5-5 like the Bills are, but they still have, the Chiefs twice. They have the Dolphins, the Vikings, the Chargers. Unlikely they're going to get in. There's been a lot of talk about Robert Saleh. Do you think he survives this season?
Yeah, simply because of the Aaron Rodgers injury. I don't think he's going to get because the thing is he's a defensive guy,
That's what I
right?
was gonna say. I don't know if it's because
So
of the Aaron
his
Rodgers
defense,
thing, but his
his side of
defense
the
is
ball,
so good.
yeah,
Yeah.
his side of the ball is doing their job, and the assumption is if Aaron Rodgers is there, the offensive side is doing its part of the job. I think I think he's done a great job. The fact they've won, 4 games with Zach Wilson being horrible
Yeah.
is pretty good. No,
Yeah,
he's not.
I like Salah. I think he's fine. I think he's going to keep his
Yeah,
job. I'm just seeing it a lot on talking heads, talking about like should
yeah,
Salah be. I think he'll be fine as well.
I disagree. Yeah,
Sunday morning from Germany, the Colts beat the Pats 10-6. This was the lowest scoring game in NFL history. Probably not what the NFL wanted to see, bringing their product over there to Germany. I mean, I gotta tell this story. It's hilarious. So, Mac Jones had a quote that said, "I was trying to get ready for Germany this week. So on Monday, I started going to bed at 5:30 p.m." to adjust for the time zone. Well, that didn't work out. He got benched, went 15 for 20. Imagine going to bed at 5 p.m. all week to get ready for Germany and then get benched.
yeah. I was on the golf course, so again, I did not really see much of this game. It looks, I mean, I didn't miss a whole lot. I saw the end where Zappy came in. Y'all know I've been a Zappy fan forever. That was rough. He had a kind of an interesting interview afterwards where he was asked what he saw in the last play, and he kind of said, you know, I can't say what I want to say, which was a very interesting response to that. So I don't know where he was going with that. I don't know if he was basically told he had to make that throw to the middle of the field because I mean he literally threw it directly into quadruple coverage. Um, but yeah, the Patriots they were brutal. Sacked 5 times.
Mac
Uh,
had a pick in this game where he threw it 10
I
yards
saw,
behind the
yeah,
guy, and it was a
I
touchdown
saw.
pass. And it was just like, oh my God, that's so ugly after they drove down the field. And it
It's
was so bad. The Patriots are now 2-8, and full tank mode is on. They're playing the Giants. Not this week, but next week. So
that'll be the Tank Bowl. Is that a Thursday night game? Because
I'm not
it
sure
seems
the
like it's
day, but
Thursday.
yeah, the winner of that game is the loser.
Yes, exactly. The sad thing is the Colts came in with such issues like stopping the pass. Like teams have been throwing against the Colts all year long pretty efficiently. And man, the Patriots just could not do that.
Nope.
They're a mess. It's going to be ugly. I would really like to see a little bit of Malik Cunningham at some point. Like, why not? It'd
Why
be
not?
fun.
Yeah,
But I completely
absolutely.
get it if the Patriots are like, we might win a game if we do that. So I think they might just keep rolling with the Mac to make sure they lose. And yeah, it's going to be ugly rest of the season, but you should get a good quarterback. And I don't know,
Yeah,
you
it's
have
looking
you
right
have good
now. I
times.
mean, the Cardinals are going to win some games with Kyler Murray.
Mhm.
The Bears are likely going to win 1 to 3 more games. So really, that second spot.
You're just hoping the Panthers win a couple games somehow, which I don't know how that's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, really, in all likelihood, that second spot for Drake May is going to either the Giants or the Patriots. Right now.
Yeah.
All right, so the Cowboys kill the Giants 49-17. We were both on this game. We had minus 16.5, and it was never an issue.
The
Dak,
Giants scored 17 more points than I thought they would, though.
yeah, but I mean, this game was never close. Dak's playing great, but again, it's a bad team. Dak went 26 for 35, 400 yards, 5 total touchdowns. Here's some stats on Dak at home this year. Dak in Dallas is 4-0, completion percentage of 80%, averages 360 yards per game. Touchdown to interception ratio is 11-2, and a passer rating of 124. Dak at home is an all-star, all-time QB. You
Mm.
get him on the road against some good teams. he's having issues. All 6 wins this year have come over losing teams in the league. I mean, we've been talking about this every week. Dallas can beat up on these bad teams, no problem. No one's worried about that. It's when they play some good teams that it's a concern. One of my questions is, do you have any concerns with Tony Pollard in the backfield there?
Yeah, I was going to talk about that a little bit later in the fantasy section, but yeah, I'll get into it. Basically, he cannot get in the end zone, completely allergic to it. He's not been efficient. It's so weird. He's kind of turned into Zeke minus touchdown production, and Rico Dowdle is now what Tony Pollard was, where he's looks
Yeah,
electric
he actually
and
came in and
springy.
did some good stuff. Yeah.
Um, I don't think he's going to totally fade away. He's going to have his role. They like him. He's going to get in the end zone eventually. But man, I gotta think it's the injury last year. It was an ugly injury. I mean, snapped his ankle, not good at all. And I think that's just kind of taken some of his explosiveness. I don't know if it's something that as the season goes on, maybe he'll get a little bit more comfortable, have a little bit more trust in cutting and things like that. But he's been so just non-explosive. I mean, that really he was so fast. He looked so much, you know, smoother on the field last year and previous years. His average was always top 5, top 10 in the league in efficiency metrics and those things running the ball. But this year's just been kind of a slog for him. I don't think it's the offensive line necessarily struggling because when Dowdle goes in, he gets yards. He is putting up 5+ per carry. So uh, I don't know if you're talking for fantasy purposes, like you definitely hold on to him because you're not going to trade him when his value is like nothing. But he's definitely been like one of those frustrating players this year.
Yeah, I think to beat some of those good teams like we've been talking about, we're gonna need to see some more red zone production out of
Yeah,
Pollard, and that's kind of the big thing.
that's the like especially when you have a game where you have 7 touchdowns. I mean, they have 49.7 touchdowns. You would think that
That the
one
running
of
back
them
has 3
would
of them.
go. Yeah, you'd think he could have gotten at least one. Because they had 3 rushing touchdowns, and one went to the backup running back, one went to the quarterback, and one went to CD.
Yeah,
So it's just, I think it's a little bit fluky, but it's not completely fluky. Like he's definitely doesn't quite have the explosiveness that he had in previous years before that injury.
yeah. Lions beat the Chargers 41-38. Another really good high scoring game here. Lions win on a 41-yard game winning field goal. The Chargers gave up 533 yards on the defensive side and 41 points. I mean, the Lions are really good, and the Chargers keep proving that their defense cannot stop anybody.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that the Chargers defense is holding up is their offense and ability to pay offensive players because they have the most expensive defense in the NFL and they can't stop anybody. Uh, I don't understand how you have a head coach that is supposed to be a defensive guy and he can't figure out that side of the ball, especially when they've invested that much into getting all of those studs. Um, they finally put it together last week. They had a great week on the defensive side of the ball and really carried when the offense kind of struggled. And so I thought, maybe they could be turning a corner and then just 500+ yards, 40+ points. That is definitely a step in the wrong direction.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question on the offensive side, they're good. The Chargers had 5 touchdowns in the last 5 drives and lost. They're the first team to ever do that. I mean, just they have so many players on this team. Like comparing the Chargers, they are the Chargers are 4-5 now. I mean, the Colts are 5-5 with Minshew. The Raiders are 5-5 with a backup QB and an interim coach. The Jets are 4-5 with no quarterback, and the Texans are 5-4 with a rookie and a first-year head coach. The fact that the Chargers are 4-5 with Herbert, a real pass rush, Eckler, Allen, Derwin James, a legitimate left tackle, I mean, it's unexcusable. They need to, it's not even a hot take. Fire Staley now. Let
Staley's
Kellen
gone.
let Kellen Moore do his thing. See if he's your guy, find out and let him cook. If they're playing Green Bay this week, I'm just letting everyone know right now. If the Chargers fall to 4-6, Staley's not coming back into that building.
No, Staley. If they lose to the Packers this week, you are 100% right. Staley's gone. The problem is they fired Staley, and so next year is your year. I think they're kind of getting in the Bills area where like they're kind of getting to the end of their window. Like next year might even be pushing it to still be in because you're gonna have Mike Williams coming off of a significant knee injury. Keenan Allen another year older. I mean, he's still been unbelievable this year, but like he's got to hit a wall at some point. Eckler is he's having some good games. He's had some issues with some drops, but again, he's like getting a little later on for a running back. Uh, they're gonna start having to pay some guys. Like they might have whiffed on this window with some of these guys. Like the new coach that's going to come in might have to kind of reload it for 2 or 3 years. Now, luckily, Herbert's going to be around for a while, but I'm not sure if they're going to be able to do it with this crew.
Yeah, I'd like to see what Kellen Moore can do with this team. But I'm tired of seeing the Chargers put up
Staley's got to
30,
go.
30
Yeah,
something points and losing. They're too good to be doing that.
yeah.
The Cardinals beat the Falcons 25-23. The big storyline of this game was Kyler Murray made his return. He looked okay. I mean, nothing special. He still has crazy speed. I'm assuming you saw that one play where he juked out the defender, scrambled. I mean, in total, he probably ran like 60, 70 yards to get that first down. He is so fast. I mean, he's definitely still got it for being a year away from football.
It was good to see him moving like that because that's the Kyler we know. You never know coming off an injury, how somebody might look. And he looked explosive. He looked quick. He just, he's pretty small, and when he's out there moving like that, it looks like he's moving in double speed compared to everybody else because
He
he just
makes
kind of
everyone else
feels
look
like a drone.
slow. You're like, wow, that
Yeah,
guy's slow. And it's just like, no, Kyler's just like that fast.
I thought he looked great. The Falcons just ran the ball and ran the ball and ran the ball and held the ball for a long time in the game.
I think it's kind of
It kind
funny.
of
I honestly think Arthur Smith is here in the comments out there about how he might be on the hot seat and how he's not using Bijan. And he's like, shoot, we better run Bijan a bunch this week, which they did. He had his most
yeah,
carries for the year, 22.
he did.
Um,
Yeah,
so I think he's hearing some of the criticism and he's like, we gotta start using Bijan how we're supposed to.
yeah, and that's good to see because honestly, the guy's a freak. Like you got to use him.
He's been getting
Um,
10 to 14 carries, and then this week he got 22. So hopefully they
yeah,
keep doing a little more of that.
I don't know if it's going to be 20 plus every week, but Bijan shouldn't be like a 12 carry guy. You got to be getting him, you know, Bijan should be getting 16 to 20 carries, and you could even be looking 5 or 6 targets a game.
Yeah.
I think that's where he's got to be. And finally got some red zone work, which of course makes sense that they should be doing as well. So that was cool to see. But I'll be interested to see if Arizona can win a few games with Kyler. They looked, much more functional on offense, especially compared to the performance against the Browns the previous week.
And just real quick, if you're the GM of the Cardinals, are you keeping Murray after this season? Or let's say they don't win any more games the rest of the year. You're still sticking with Kyler for next year, moving on.
As long as he looks like normal Kyler, yeah, I don't see why not. Because if you have an early pick, go ahead and flip that, build around. Like again, pushing off taking a quarterback is not going to kill you. Like if you go out and get other pieces like offensive line or defensive line, wide receiver, secondary, those will still be there
Yep.
if you suck again. And so then you can go get another quarterback, and then at least you have more pieces around the team to make the team better when you get that other quarterback. So no, I don't think they need a force going and getting a quarterback if they have a top,
Yeah,
six
I
pick.
think I'm
And
with you there. And I
in fact, they can
with
even trade out if they were trade down if they want, and,
get
collect
some
more
more.
picks for
Yeah.
the future,
Hmm.
whatever. But no, I don't think they would need to do that
No.
unless
Yep.
Kyler looks really bad. But I don't see that happening because I thought he looked pretty good in his first game back.
Yeah.
uh, all things considered.
The Vikings beat the Saints 27-19. So Dobbs is now 2-0 as a Minnesota Viking. Dobbs went 23 for 34, 268 yards, a touchdown, and 44 yards rushing. Those are really good numbers. You called this last week. You said, hey, look out for TJ Hawkinson. Dobbs loves tight ends. Well,
Spams.
what did Hawkinson do this week? 11 receptions on 15 targets, 134 yards, and a touchdown. So called that one perfectly.
Yeah, Dobbs loves his tight ends. His first half numbers were crazy impressive. He had over 200 yards. He did most of his production in the first half. It's crazy impressive what he's been able to do in such a short time. And now, with them getting Jefferson back, this offense could be serious, man. I'm not giving up on the Vikings yet. I kind of questioned like the Dobbs move when they went and did it, because I thought their season was pretty much over. But yeah, he's kind of brought him back from the dead. It's very impressive. This kind of like
You probably
this
build some real
whole
belief in that locker room too when you bring a
yeah,
guy in
for
midseason
sure.
and then that type of thing happens where you win two
Yeah.
games. I mean, they're probably all on board.
This is like it's been such a whirlwind, crazy. Like it feels like if you remember Linsanity when that was like first going down, it's just like where did this come from? Like Dobbs has been in the NFL for years. He's just been a backup. And at times when he's played, he hasn't been like a world beater, but like he just is making plays. Like every time I was watching Red Zone, every time he cut over to him, he's like spinning out of a sack, juking out the end, and like escaping outside, flipping the ball downfield. Like he's just making play after play. It's just
So do you think
unbelievable.
this is Linsanity where it's going to run out, or do you think he's a real starter in this league?
I'm gonna say yes. At some point, it's probably gonna run out because if he's like this, then why wasn't he like this at any point in time for 4 years in the NFL previous? Um, but that doesn't
Maybe he
mean
can
that.
be like a Geno Smith type guy where he gets paid, but it's not anything ridiculous. Like,
Yeah, I think this is definitely going to get it. He's going to be a backup or at least have a job for a long time based on this. Um, but I mean, even Gino is like, he's started turning the ball over. He's not nearly as efficient this year as he was last year.
yep.
Like, I think Dobbs can like keep this going plenty long enough. He has good enough weapons around him, and the Vikings defense has been playing good enough football. Like, he can still get him to the playoffs. Like, he doesn't have to be Superman every week either. But um, I don't know. I don't think he's just gonna like all of a sudden be like Cam Newton or anything. Like
Yeah.
prime. It's not. That's not realistic. I don't know. It's a cool story, and I think he will play some decent football going forward. But no, I don't think he's like a 3 years from now. He's a top 6 quarterback in the NFL. No.
Yeah. So in this game, Carr was knocked out with a concussion. Jameis Winston comes in the third quarter. And I don't know if you saw any of it, but Jameis has not
He's
changed a
awesome.
bit.
I love
he
him.
he
He
is willing
embraces
to
it.
he is willing to throw any pass anywhere on the field. He just chucks it up. He came in the third quarter and had stats like he played the entire game. 13 for 25, 122 yards, 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. I mean, he's the same player he was 6 years ago. Like he's just
He's
like I'm going to throw it, and he had a touchdown pass that he threw across the field to the back of the end zone that very could have
he
easily been
rolled
picked off.
he rolled left of the numbers and threw a back pylon throw to the right side of the end zone.
Which is, great. Give him credit for that. He's got an arm, he can do it. But like every game, it's 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Like this is why he's a backup in the league. It's just
Jameis plays quarterback like I played Madden. It's like he'll be going and oh man, I just hit the wrong button, threw the wrong guy. Like it'll just go wherever at any time. It's beautiful. It's amazing. I hope. I hope Derek Carr is fine. I hope he's healthy. But like
they
I
have a
also
bye
hope he's
week
out.
and it's just a concussion. So
Yeah,
I don't think he'll miss any time. But
I
I mean, it's
I need a full game of Jameis. It's beautiful. It's a disaster. I don't know. It is a lot of fun. When I saw he was in, I made sure to kind of tune into that game a little bit.
yeah.
And yeah, it was wild.
I just also want to say Kamara's up to number 5 RB in fantasy, and he missed the first 3 weeks. So he's
Yeah.
not getting a ton of talk like about him, but he's having a hell of a season down there.
He's doing it on receiving volume. I mean,
Yep.
he's been catching so many balls this year. Not super efficient uh running the ball. But yeah, that receiving volume is definitely getting them there. Hadn't been, crazy touchdowns or anything. But yeah, if you're getting 7 catches a game, I think he had like 12 or 13 a few
Yep.
weeks ago. I mean, he really is getting tons and tons of checkdowns in that offense.
All right. The 49ers right the ship. They kill the Jaguars 34-3. Not even a game. Um, Down there in Jacksonville across the country. Purdy's numbers are back to what they've been when he's leading games 19 for 26, 296 yards, 3 touchdowns. When the San Francisco 49ers are healthy, they are crazy good. They just embarrassed a division leading team on a 5 game win streak. They can beat you with pressure. They can beat you with weapons. They can run it on you. They have a passing attack. I mean, when they got Debo back, they got Trent Williams back, and they looked like they were the first 5 weeks of the season.
Yeah, this is the one team in the league that can just kind of blow out anybody any week with everybody healthy, because once they get it steamrolling, like if they get up early on you, they're going to keep it going. They're going to keep it steamrolling because that defensive line is coming, because they know that you got to throw the ball. That run game's going to be cooking. And then Ayuk's going to be punching you over the top, or Kittle or Debo. It's just a dangerous team. I think Chase Young, he didn't have a crazy efficient game. Like, he had 1 tackle, half a sack, but Nick Bosa, 1.5 sacks. Like, that's going to start opening things up. You can't just double Bosa all the time now. This team has the highest ceiling, I think, of any team in the NFL. Maybe the Chiefs, when Mahomes is on, because Mahomes
As
has a
far
little
as
bit
the
high
way
ceiling with
a
Purdy.
roster is constructed,
But yeah,
49ers are top dog. When
yeah,
everyone's healthy,
yeah,
there's no one that can really stop them.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean Trent Williams, I think might be the biggest piece to this entire puzzle. When he's out, like they're a different team. But when he's playing and Brock's got all of his weapons on the field, yeah, they can blow out good teams like they did this week. I want to
Yeah.
talk about Trevor Lawrence for a second. I mean, he's kind of considered in that elite QB category. Not like top 3 in the league, but somewhere between 4 and
Yeah. I
9.
mean,
But
a lot
I
of people were predicting him this year to break out, and busting his way into the top 5. Yeah,
but
absolutely.
the question is kind of like, is he deserving of that? Is he really an elite quarterback in this league? I mean, his numbers in this game obviously weren't great, but let me just take you through his ranks this year. His pass yards, 17th, pass yards per game, 16th, touchdowns, 22nd, passer rating, 18th. I mean, those are all pretty consistent with middle of the road quarterback. If he wants to be an elite quarterback in this league, I need to see some more consistency out of him. I guess, I mean, he's still early on in his career, but
Yeah.
I want to see more consistency at a higher level. What do you think?
Yeah, his O line's not great, but like they have a good running game with ETN. ETN's had a great year. That should open things up in the passing game. They have Ridley this year back. That was supposed to be a key piece. Christian Kirk had a great year. He's back. Evan Ingram had a great year last year. He's back. Zay Jones has been hurt, and now he's been arrested, I believe. So that's been a bit of a mess this year for them. But even still, he has plenty enough targets to throw to put up numbers, and he hasn't this year. I think it's been a huge disappointment. I think he's been one of the bigger disappointments as far as quarterbacks go this year. Uh, because so many people were high on him because of what they did last year, what they did in the playoffs. A lot
Yeah,
of
I
people had
mean,
him pegged for being like kind of, this was like the breakout year. He was going to come out and he's going to be like, in the Burrow tier, in the Justin Herbert tier, and like he just hasn't done that.
no, I mean,
Um,
this game he threw for 185 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I believe in fantasy he had maybe 2 points.
I think too, yeah,
Yeah, just I mean, a lot of it I guess is the 49ers, and there's a lot of season left. But yeah, I don't think he's quite in that elite category that we're seeing yet. He's not. I'm not giving him like that 6, 7, 8th best quarterback in the league. I'm seeing more middle of the road, 12 to 16.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm taking Jared Goff over him right now,
Oh,
the way
absolutely.
that Goff's been playing compared to him.
That's not
And
even a
like Goff,
question.
and nobody's like trying to put Goff into like tier one, really. So, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
The Texans beat the Bengals 30-27. I don't think anyone really saw this coming. CJ Stroud is on fire. He had another great game, 23 for 39, 364 total yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a pick, but CJ Stroud is playing unbelievable right now.
Mhm.
Um, we're talking about QB ranks through half of the NFL season. Where's CJ Stroud in your QB ranks?
I mean, that's a guy right there that you could absolutely like be talking about busting his way into like tier one quarterbacks. The way he's been playing, he did finally turn the ball over this week, but he's been doing a great job of uh, protecting the football. 356 yards is very impressive against a Cincinnati defense that has been pretty decent this year. Uh, I don't know. This was a game on the road against a hot team that they weren't expected to win, and if they looked good and kept it close, people would have been like, "Great job, Texans!" Like, and they come out and win that game. That's way ahead of schedule for them.
I
Like
think
they're
yeah,
a full year ahead of schedule, I would say, um, from contending or being what people hoped they could be if CJ Stroud panned out. It's unbelievable what they're doing. They didn't even have Nico Collins this week, their top wide receiver. They didn't have Damian Pierce, who's their top running back now. I will Singletary's been a little
Singletary
bit more.
did play well this
Yeah,
week.
he had a huge game, and he's actually been more efficient. I think their offensive coordinator has actually kind of come out and said Pierce is not the best fit for the run scheme they have, but even still, like those guys were out and they moved. They had 500 yards. They were just moving it up and down the field like easily. Um, just so impressive to see what they're doing. Their defense, you know, slowed down Cincinnati enough. Bro had a big game, but he's been playing great football, and they still got to him 4 times and sacked him and turned him over twice. Uh, this is a team that I think you could be looking at being, a playoff kind of team for years to come. They're really coming together and playing good football.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it right now on the podcast. I think the Texans win a playoff game this year.
I could see it. Yeah.
I'm not saying they're gonna win a couple, but I think they do get into the playoffs and win a game this year. Some of the stats that I'm seeing out of CJ Stroud though are ridiculous. His passer rating when trailing in the fourth quarter is in the hundreds. When trailing in general, he has 10 touchdowns and no interceptions. When it's harder to throw, when they know you're going to throw it. His
Mhm.
passed yards per game, 292. That's first. Touchdown to interception ratio, 15-2. That's first. Big plays in the league, 43. That's first. These are numbers of an elite quarterback. I mean, I've already got him. I think he's a top 10 quarterback in the league, and we're halfway through the NFL season.
You cannot have the way he's been playing. You cannot have him outside top 10 right now. I don't think,
Nope.
because it's not even like, I mean, he has decent receivers. Tank Dell looks like a great rookie.
He's
Nico
making
Collins.
he's
Nico
making
Collins is pretty
mid
good.
round receivers. These aren't
Yeah,
first round receivers. These are like third, fifth, sixth round receivers. Look
he's
like they're Pro Bowlers.
he's got Noah Brown putting up Tyreek numbers.
Yeah,
Like that's ridiculous. So yeah,
yeah. I'd like to see the Texans keep playing well the rest of the
it's
season. I mean,
awesome.
he's
Yeah,
on a
sure.
he's on a great pace. Browns beat the Ravens 30-27. The Ravens had this game pretty handedly up, and then the Browns come back and get the win. First play of the game, Deshaun Watson throws a pick six. Ravens go up, and Watson continues to play bad. Starts off 1 for 9, looking really good for the Ravens, and then everything just changed in the second half. In the second half, Deshaun Watson went 14 for 14, and the Ravens just could not hold on. Two of the Ravens' three losses this year, they were leading by double digits and gave it all back. They're not a good fourth quarter team.
No.
They have a turnover problem. Lamar Jackson has 10 fumbles this year. Six of them were lost. I mean, the Ravens are a really good team. We had them ranked number one in the power rankings, but in the end of games, fourth quarter, second half, they got to play some better football than what they're doing right now.
Yeah, they've been like jumping up on teams early in a lot of the games, and then they just kind of fall asleep in the middle of the games. They've been doing that a few times. Um, a couple games, they have put the team away. Like the Lions game, they jumped out like 35-0, like early, and then they just they actually finished that one off properly. But, like they game against like the Cardinals, and the Cardinals had Dobbs, and they won 31-24. But I remember the Cardinals kind of like just hung around in that game. They let them kind of stay in that game, even though they were kind of dominating. It felt like. So they've been a bit of a weird team about that. I do think it is part of that is the turnover problem they've had. Um, that allows teams to hang around, gives them extra possessions. This was a weird game. I thought it was over like early.
I mean, I
I
bet
really,
on the
I didn't,
Browns and you bet on
I
the
didn't,
Ravens, and I
yeah,
thought it was over. And
yeah.
I, I feel like I got lucky with the win on the bet that this week, but
Well, once I saw the Ravens score, I thought it was going to be a low scoring game. Once I saw the Ravens get those points early, I was like, I didn't really think the Browns were going to score more than maybe 14 points on that defense, and they just kept giving the ball to them, in good field position. They ended up throwing a pick six late. Like it's not like the Browns offense did much craziness, but they still were able to get 33 points out of it.
yeah.
Uh, that's just kind of a failure on the part from the Ravens in taking care of the football.
Yeah, they're still a good team, but they got to work on the turnovers, clean that up in the second
Mhm.
half of this season. So that's the major games from this week. Let's get into our power rankings. Before I start, I do want to say I was having trouble figuring out my 9, 10, 11 uh teams this week. So I will say at 11 could easily be number 10, but at 11 is the Steelers. Um, we're gonna get into the top 10 now, though. At 10, we got Seattle. Their schedule gets very tough coming up. They're a good team. They can run it. They got good coaching. Gino has been a little turnovery though. He's got to clean some of those up. At 9, we got the Browns. They were missing three of their best offensive tackles and beat the Ravens. Deshaun is 5-1 as a starter this year, and Myles Garrett is playing really well. At 8, we got the Jags. They just got blown out by the 49ers, but they're still a good team. They've won 13 of the last 18 games. They've got a star QB, even though we just talked about that, and 18 takeaways this year. At 7, we got Cincinnati. Leads NFL in completion percentage week 5 and on. This team is a little hurt right now, but they still got Burrow and Chase, and they can win any week. At 6, we got Dallas. Great at home. They have played the easiest schedule this season so far, and they have the most penalties in the NFL. They're playing Carolina this week. They should get another win. Dallas at 6. At 5, we got Baltimore. Number 1 rushing offense, number 1 scoring D. Their defense allows the lowest passer rating in the NFL. They fell from 1 to 5 this week, though. At 4, we got the Lions, 15-4 in the last 19 games. 2 great backs. Goff is playing great. Top roster, not many turnovers. There's a lot I like with the Lions. At 3, 49ers. When healthy, they have the best roster in the NFL. They have Pro Bowlers on every unit. And when Trent Williams is playing, they are great. At 2, we got Kansas City. 27-4 off a bye with Andy Reid. They are coming off a bye this week. So it's a big note there. Of note, though, they do have the worst scoring offense in the second half in the NFL. So they got to clean that up a little bit. They kind of need to play with a lead at this point in how they're playing this season. And then 1, we got Philadelphia, best record in the NFL. They tear you down. They wear you down. They've beaten 12 straight teams with winning records in the regular season. They have lost the turnover battle for the last 5 games, though, so they got to clean the turnovers up a little bit. Let's get into fantasy. We just finished week 10 of NFL. So in fantasy this week of week 10, who boomed?
Yeah, I'm gonna start with the Texans offense. Stroud had another great game, but I'm actually gonna go running back. Devin Singletary, 30 carries is a career high for him, 150 yards and a touchdown. Obviously no Dameon Pierce, so he was the guy, and he took advantage. 5 yards a carry there, getting in the end zone. Huge game from him. And then Noah Brown, 7 for 172. That's back-to-back games over 150, I believe, for him. Crazy video game numbers. He's kind of been the deep threat guy in that role, but he's also, caught the ball intermediate and then turned some yak and gotten upfield, gotten some extra yards through that. So yeah, super huge numbers for him the last couple of weeks. Next, I'm gonna go Mike Evans for the Buccaneers against the Titans. He had 10 targets this week, which for Mike Evans is pretty great. He's not really known as a target hog, but turned that into 6 for 143 and a touchdown. That man, it seems like he's getting in the end zone every week. Baker loves getting him the football, having a great year. Hawkinson, we talked about earlier, 130 yards, touchdown, 11 catches, I believe. Just getting spammed the football from Josh Dobbs. Next, I'm going to go Trey McBride, another tight end. Kyler's by far favorite target this week. Almost had 1 in every 3 passes thrown his way in that offense. 8 catches, 131 yards. Huge game for him. All of the Lions players, over 500 yards of offense for the Lions this week against the Chargers. You had Montgomery scoring on a long one. You had Gibbs getting in the end zone twice, 77 yards. And you had Amon-Ra, 8 catches, 156 yards and a touchdown. Huge week for the Lions. And then I will go with Keenan Allen, 11 for 175 and 2 touchdowns. Huge game for him, playing from behind, or at least keeping up with the Lions, back and forth. He has had a huge year for the Chargers. And then lastly, I am going with the Cowboys offense. Dak, 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. Brandon Cooks, 9 for 173 and a touchdown. He came out of nowhere, has not had any kind of production like that. He actually almost doubled his entire fantasy production for the whole year in 1 week. And then CD continues his crazy rampage of a stretch with 11 for 151 and a touchdown. He's been going off lately.
Yeah,
That's all.
a lot of good ones there. I will throw Tyler Boyd in, only 20 fantasy points, but that's a major boom for him as a wide receiver 3 with Higgins out. I love throwing these defenses in here. 49ers defense, 21 points against Jacksonville. Anytime your D gets up in that 20 range, they had a great week. Got to throw some kicker love in here. Jason Myers, 21 points, 5 for 5 on field goals, 2 extra points. Yeah. And then I'm going to put Josh Dobbs in here, 25 points. Nothing crazy, but still a big boom week. And if you started him, you're happy.
That Saints defense has been really good against the pass this year. So really cool to see that.
Yeah. Let's move over to the week 10 fantasy bus.
I'm going to start with a guy that I warned everyone against last week, or this past week, Derrick Henry. Poor game against the Buccaneers. They were playing from behind, which meant a lot more Tyjae Spears. And Henry only ended up with 11 carries for 24 yards. Terrible week for him. Then also another team that was trailing from behind all game, the Jaguars. Travis Etienne, 9 for 35. He only had 2 catches for 9 yards, no touchdowns. Just really a terrible game in general for the whole Jaguars offense outside of Christian Kirk. Then I'm going to go with Jacoby Myers. He's kind of been hit or miss this year, not super consistent. This was definitely one of his whiff games, 2 for 21. Just not a great game for him. And then lastly, I'm gonna go with Stephon Diggs in that Monday night game. Um, he only had 3 catches, 34 yards. But the crazy thing was he only had 5 targets. Diggs is a guy that you're looking at, 8, 9, 10 plus targets every single game. It was definitely a bit weird to, not see the ball get thrown to him very much at all.
Yeah, I think that was part of the reason why Dorsey's gone. That I think Diggs was probably
Mhm.
expressing some concerns with that. Like you said, the Jaguars did terrible. Trevor Lawrence had 2 points. Not great. Um, for the Arizona Cardinals, Hollywood Brown with Kyler back, you would have expected him to have a better game, but no, 1 catch for 3 points.
He did have a 30-yard touchdown just glance off his fingertips, though, in that game that would have saved that game for him.
The entire Carolina backfield, Hubbard, Sanders, and Blackshear had a combined total of 25 yards. So not good at all. Quite
Outside of
bad.
Adam Thielen, you do not need to roster a single Carolina Panther for the rest of the season
No.
at all.
We're gonna throw Tony Pollard in there, 5 points. When your team wins as big as they did,
Mhm.
you would expect your running back to get some work, keep the clock running, and probably have some touchdowns. That did not happen. And then last one is Jonnu Smith. He's been having a really good season down there in Atlanta, but only 1 point and 1 catch this week. Let's move on to the next week. Week 11 of fantasy football. Who should you start?
Feel a little bit disgusted saying this, and if it goes poorly, then you can drop him, trade him, whatever, but give him one more chance. Tony Pollard plays the Carolina Panthers this week. If he does not get in the end zone or at least put up some points, he's officially done. You can get rid of him, you can do whatever. But I'm giving him one more go because if anything can fix him, it's going to be the Carolina Panthers and that horrendous run defense. So I'm running Tony Pollard out there one more time and just praying. Uh, Next, I'm going to go with Calvin Ridley, another guy that you just are feeling horrible about. Their offense just laid an absolute egg, but they're playing the Tennessee Titans this week. They're going to be able to throw the ball. The Titans, they did slow down the Patriots, but I think the Jaguars have a little bit better passing game than the Patriots. So I'm going to say that Calvin Ridley finally gets back in the end zone and puts together a pretty decent game. Uh, you may be a little scared with him coming off of IR, but Devon Achane is in your lineup this week. You are running him out there. They're playing the Raiders. The Raiders' honeymoon from having their interim head coach is going to be over. The Dolphins roll in that game, and I want Achane in there because he's going to be ready to go. And then lastly, I'm going with Ty Chandler, running back for the Minnesota Vikings. It looks like Madison might be out for that game with a concussion. And if that's the case, we saw what the Bills did to the Broncos run defense late in that game. I think the Vikings are going to be able to run the ball against the Broncos, and Ty Chandler is going to be the guy. So I'm getting him in my lineups.
All right. Uh, Amari Cooper has been on a hot streak. He's playing Pitt this week, but he's gone 15, 25, 16. For the Browns, I expect him to keep that going. Any Commanders players that are playing this week versus the Giants can get in. Terry McLaurin, Dotson, Samuel, Brian Robinson. If you have Sam Howell on your team, he could put up some big numbers this week. James Cook versus the Jets. I like what I saw out of him last game. It seems like the Bills found a running game there a little bit. And playing the Jets, I think they're going to run the ball a good bit. So, yeah, I mean, I like James Cook there. Uh, Chicago offense versus Detroit. They're not going to be able to run the ball very well. So I do like DJ Moore and Cole Kmet versus Detroit. I think they could get some high volume. Boyd, if Higgins is still out, they have a Thursday night game, which Higgins probably still is out.
I
Boyd,
saw him. Yeah, I saw that he's not going to be playing. So
yeah, so Boyd is probably likely back in your lineup again. And then last one, Dobbs. He's coming off 2 25-point weeks in a row. So why won't that continue? I don't know. You should put him in your lineup.
One thing to note with the Browns Steelers game, the Steelers pass defense has been very susceptible to slot guys this year. Outside receivers, they've covered pretty well, but when Amari Cooper does kick into the slot, he'll have a nice little mismatch there.
Yeah. Let's move over to the sit 'em side. Who do you got?
I am sitting, we talked about it earlier. This goes to the entire backfield, but I have Chuba Hubbard listed. They're playing the Cowboys this week. Panthers going to get absolutely thrashed.
Yeah, I mean,
They're not
unless
going to they're not going to be able to
Adam Thielen's the only one
they're
that you
not going
can
to be able to
start.
run the ball.
No.
Chuba, Miles Sanders, you're not starting them. You just touched on it, but the Bears, I think, will struggle to run the football against the Lions. So I have Khalil Herbert as a sit. He's coming off the injury. I think he'll be good to go this week, coming off IR. Again, that backfield may just straight up be a mess anyway. But assuming Herbert is the guy, I'm still not starting him against Detroit this week. It's not a great matchup. And then my third, I'm going with Baker Mayfield. He's been a pretty solid streaming quarterback if you've needed one, but he is playing the 49ers this week. They might be losing. They might have to throw a lot, but that's just not a good matchup. I think he gets pressured a ton, gets sacked a few times. I'd be worried about him turning it over multiple times. So yeah, I'm not playing Baker against the 49ers this week.
All right. Joe Mixon versus Baltimore. I'm not saying he's going to get 1 or 2 points, but I'm feeling a slow week out of Mixon in that Baltimore D. Pacheco versus Philly. I mean, Pacheco's a great player, and you might have to play him, but another slow week coming up versus Philly. Got a good run D there. And then lastly, any Pittsburgh players versus Cleveland. I do not like it at all. Deontay Johnson had a poor game last week. Don't like any of the wide receivers against Cleveland D. Don't see Najee Harris doing much. These divisional matchup games are tight, so just be careful for that one as well. All right, we're getting into gambling here to finish it off. Gonna take us through the lines this week. On Thursday night, we got Bengals at Ravens. Ravens are favored by 4. On Sunday at 1 p.m., we have Steelers at Browns. Browns are favored by 4. Raiders at Dolphins. Dolphins are favored by 12. Bears at Lions. Lions are favored by 9.5. Titans at Jags. Jags are favored by 6.5. Chargers at Packers. Packers are getting 3. Cards at Texans. Texans are favored by 4. Cowboys at Panthers. Panthers are getting 10.5. Giants at Commanders. Commanders are favored by 10. Bucks at 49ers. 49ers are favored by 11.5. Jets at Bills. Bills are favored by 7. Seahawks at Rams. Rams are getting a point. And then the night game is Vikings at Broncos. Broncos are favored by 2. And then this might be the best game all year on Monday night. We got Eagles at Chiefs. Probably the top 2 teams in the league right now. Chiefs are favored by 3. What is your most win game of the week? Most must win game of the week?
I am going with the Chargers playing the Packers this week.
I think it's an obvious pick here out of both of us. Yeah.
I think the Chargers just can't lose a game. The rest like this, the rest of the year they can lose to like a team like the Chiefs, but you can't lose to freebies, or not just freebies, but you can't lose games like this if you want to make the playoffs.
Well, we talked about it earlier. I mean, if the Chargers lose this game, Staley is likely fired. So yeah, I mean, there's no question that is the most must-win game of the week. Last week our podcast did pretty good. We both went 2-1. Andrew is now 11-10 on the year, and I am 21-13. So we are both hitting at some Pretty good rates. Last week, Andrew took Cowboys minus 16.5, which hit. Lions minus 2.5, which hit. And Ravens minus 6, which did not. I took Pats +2, which did not hit. I took Browns +6, which hit. And Cowboys minus 16.5, which hit. Week 11, what are your 3 bets of the week?
Going straight back to that Cowboys minus 10.5 at Carolina. I think the Cowboys do that in the first half. And then I don't see the Carolina offense chasing them down from behind. So I think Dallas covers that comfortably. My second pick, I will be going Jaguars minus 6.5 at home against the Titans. I don't think Will Levis is that great. I think Jacksonville will be a little bit fired up after playing poorly last week and take it out on a divisional opponent. And I could see them winning that by a couple scores. And then lastly, I debated over it, but I'm going to go with the Chargers. They have to win this game. -3 at Green Bay. I think that team comes together, some of the veterans on that team, and they get it done this week and hopefully, get it going in the right direction for the rest of the season.
All right. I'm with you. Jags minus 6.5. They're going to be coming out steaming after getting blown out to the 49ers. And we may have had an early call on Will Levis. Now that they got some tape on him, I think they're going to struggle. I could see Jags blowing them out. I got Bengals +4 on Thursday night. They have to win this game. They cannot drop it. 4 seems like a lot of points for a standalone game against the Ravens, and the Bengals are a good team. And we keep doing the same thing on the Cowboys. Cowboys big favorites are they've been good to us. So Cowboys minus 10.5. We have 2 of the same bets this week. So
first time all year. How about that?
One different bet, but yeah, we both got Jags and Cowboys. So let's hope they cover this week. All right. That concludes our podcast for the week. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at screenplay_podcast. New episodes dropping every Wednesday. Have a great football week. Any last comments there, Andrew?
Yeah, thank y'all for listening. If you do have like fantasy questions, lineup questions, whatever, I know it's early in the week, but if you want to DM us on Instagram or whatever, we will get back to you. And if they're good ones, we may feature them on the show next week. So just let us know. Hit us up.
Yeah, DM us at screenplay_podcast. Any questions or information you guys want, hit us up and we'll put it on the podcast. Thanks for listening.